Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio, and I am with Emily Dean and also Steve Williams.
Yay.
Not the one who had their last show on BBC Breakfast. That's Sian Williams.
Sian.
People thinking, God, she's a fast mover.
This is better than Salford, apparently.
Yeah, so, yeah, she didn't want. That's why she left. There's all this big emotional farewell. She just didn't want to go to Manchester.
Snob.
She's back on the radio, isn't she? That's what she's doing now.
Can't hear you, Steve. This is your big moment, your big break, and I can't hear you.
And I blew it.
Oh, too late now. Steve actually just did the best joke I've ever heard. Miss Cosgrove. That's the end of your Sian Williams material. She's back on the radio, did you say?
Yeah, she's working in radio, I think. That's what she's done. She's come back.
Yeah,
She's not gone
I
forever,
don't want her
Frank.
sniffing around my gigs, Frank.
No, I think that's what Rodri's wife said. That was a Ryan Giggs joke, but I couldn't remember the name of all the key players.
Yeah.
What's the name of Ryan Giggs' wife?
Oh,
Natasha.
yes.
Thanks very much for that.
It's okay.
See, that's what happens when you get old. Your killer one-liners dwindle into... What's the name of that? I saw Jackie Mason last night, the elderly Jewish comedian.
He's enough old.
It's very difficult when you see Jackie Mason live.
Why is that?
It's because when you get home, your girlfriend says, how was Jackie Mason? And you say, he's getting old, but it was funny. And he's talking about this, and it was great. And I liked it. And you can't stop talking. I thought the radio show tomorrow is me going to be saying. And then you get the Jews who go, and they're climbing in the big 4x4. There's 83-year-old Jews climbing in a 4x4. And it's very, very infectious indeed. I always get that when I get to the cinema. I come out walking a bit like the hero. Or
I think it's a synagogue.
Yeah, not the synagogue. I haven't gone that far down the Jackie Mason route.
How is his hair and makeup looking? I'm just curious.
He looked like a man who was... what is it with even the very rich, even Paul McCartney, when they go in grey and they dye their hair, it goes purple. What is that?
Aubergine, yeah.
What is it?
I don't know, but generally men, just FYI, don't dye your hair. That's all I have to say on the subject.
No,
Leave it to the ladies.
As you may have noticed, I don't usually think these are individual highlights that I've put in with. I got some grey dye and I did each hair. But no, obviously anyone who dyes their hair is essentially a liar. But anyway, text us in on 81215 and we'd love to hear from you. I also said something to Steve Williams today I haven't said for years. When he came in, he went to sit on like a stool. You might not notice this, Steve. And then the settee, there was a space on the settee, and I said, have a backrest.
Have a backrest.
And we used to say that when you go into the pub, there'd be some chairs that had backs on and some that were stools. And if you'd say, "Oh, I'll have a backrest,"
And it's like a
it was a treat.
A treat.
It was an absolute treat. Oh, you could lean back a little bit. Oh, I have a backrest this morning, and I'm proud of that. So I spent the weekend, what we used to call in the West Midlands back in the day, visiting.
Visiting?
Yeah.
Which means you just go from house to house visiting people, not for food or anything like that, not for a meal.
Yeah.
You just turn up. In those days, we didn't make appointments. You just go. You think, oh, we'll go and see.
What happened to visiting? It's gone off the radar, hasn't it?
I don't think people... I don't know if this still happens in the other part of the country, and I'd love to hear from our listeners on 81215. It's all gone a bit Christian O'Connell breakfast show. But we used to not phone ahead, mainly because none of us had phones. Even landlines, we didn't have that. So you just turned up. Sometimes you'd turn up, and they'd be out, and you'd rip the corner off an envelope from your pocket and say that you'd called and put that through the letterbox.
And are you carrying that envelope just in case?
I still carry that envelope to this day. Still jagged. Anyway, what part of my visiting, which was... I was going to see Fairport Convention.
Oh.
Do you know that
1967.
Steve's looking very confused.
Yeah.
I'm still looking at your hair. Is Frank a liar? I don't know.
Yeah. What were you looking at? My hair? I was to see if I dye it.
Yeah.
He doesn't dye
I
it.
thought it was a reference to the fin that I carved this morning in with gel.
On the front.
Yeah. So I couldn't go. They were on Saturday night. They were the kings of folk rock, basically. They championed folk rock in this country. And they were doing a gig in London, and I couldn't go. I was doing something else. So what I did, and this is a great, if you can't make a gig, what about this? I went to the sound check.
Oh, nice, yeah.
So there was just like 4 of us sitting in the arena watching the sound check.
In an arena, just 4 of you.
Well, it was. I say arena. It was about
a small room in Camden.
Yeah, it was about a 600-seater. I don't know why I said arena. Perhaps I was thinking of Tina Arena. I so often am nowadays. That woman haunts my every thought. I'm not quite sure who she is, but nevertheless. Anyway, so I thought, wouldn't it be great if weddings were like this?
4
You could
people.
say, I don't want to come to the... Can I just come to the rehearsal? On the Thursday, I'll sit at the back of my own. It would have been lovely. But I had one particular visiting experience, which was a complete thrill for me. But you know what? I'm going to leave that on what I like to call a cliffhanger.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So I went visiting, and I went visiting the house of Emily Dean.
Never.
No,
It was quite an honour.
I've known Emily for a long, long time, and she's never, ever invited me back to hers. Ever.
Wow.
And I've had many theories about this.
He thought I was Miss Havisham.
I thought there was something going on. Yeah, I thought there was a cobweb-covered wedding cake in one corner, which you'd
There
rather
was the
not.
makeup stash, which we'll get to.
Yes, there was a mat. That was phenomenal. But anyway, I thought there must be some sort of double life that's being kept from me. You know, I don't know if you ever used to watch Top Cat.
Top Cat.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Top Cat
Yeah, I do.
cartoon? But
Yeah.
Benny the Boar in that, I remember in one episode, he told his parents that he was a millionaire financier in the city. And so when they turned up in Top Cat, he didn't mention.
episode is that?
He didn't mention they lived in bins. and
Did you think I lived in bins?
No, but that, this is an analogy with
Okay.
Benny the Boar. And Benny the Boar, I mean, you know, they wore minimal clothing.
In Top Cat or
Top
Emily's
Top Cat wore a waistcoat and a straw boater. That was it.
And no underwear.
No underwear.
No.
No. So Benny the Boar's parents come, and Top Cat and his gang have to pretend that Benny is a rich person, and they all work for him, and that's it. And it was that, you know, that you must have seen that in other
Oh, yeah.
sitcom.
Yeah.
So
The
I
common
thought,
conceit.
yeah. So I thought it would be some sort of double life. I'd get there, and Emily worked in McDonald's for all her finery. There'd be an island McDonald's. You know, 2 stars. I'm not saying she's failed there. But it was lovely. It was a lovely flat.
So your
and,
expectation was, you know, that it was going to be awful, and it was nice.
What do you mean? You thought it was going to be awful?
I actually got a bit nervous about it.
Did you? Can I tell you what I got nervous about, Frank?
What was that?
I'm just going to be honest. I wasn't at the time, but now we have an audience. I will.
Oh, good. Yeah.
When I made you a cup of tea,
Oh, yes.
you held on to that tea like a trophy. You wouldn't part with it, and I felt it was because there were no coasters, and
Yeah,
I
you
thought I'd let you down with the coasters.
You put me in one of my ultimate dilemmas because I cannot operate without a coaster.
Coaster.
I cannot put a hot cup of tea onto a wooden
I know.
or any surface.
But that's right. That's right. You don't want rings on your coffee table.
No.
We got a tour around the boudoir, but you stalled at the ensuite.
Yeah, well, I do. I always back off from a toilet on the.
It's an ensuite.
No, but on the when you get a tour of someone's house, I did. You know, it's always a weird thing. You get to someone's house, and they'll say, "I'll give you the tour," and you
Yeah.
go around like it's Shakespeare's house.
Yeah.
And I actually found myself. I cannot believe. I try so hard not to lapse into cliche, but I did find myself using the phrase "it's a nice size" at one point.
Did you
Can
say
I
you
put- that
loved?
was about a room.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And you saw my makeup stash, Frank.
Yeah, this is something I wasn't expecting. When I thought, because I know that, you know, obviously, pride in appearance is a big thing in Emily, and I knew there would be makeup
Right.
there. I was expecting, it was a bit more industrial quantities than I expected. It
Like
was
Hans Blix walking around. And you
It
see
was in, yeah,
massive
that's what,
stash of
yeah,
makeup.
I was looking for the smoking lipstick. It was in Tupperware containers, which is practical. Labelled Tupperware containers. I think one was called various tans. I like that, all the grades.
They were all neatly labelled. There's
Yeah.
blushers / bronzers.
But let me make this point before we move on. When I say Tupperware containers, some of you might think of those things you took to school that would basically take 2 sandwiches, an apple and maybe a Twix wedged.
Yeah.
Wedged to give stability to the sandwiches so they didn't move about in the satchel. Remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I'm talking about if you're going on a family picnic, that kind of... I'm talking about, like, 8 or 9 inches deep Tupperware containers. I mean, it was a mountain of makeup.
Yeah.
I could stage the average West End musical just using Emily's Tupperware containers. It was a revelation.
Oh.
But I don't know why, because you're so beautiful. Naturally, you don't need it.
Oh. He ended
Sorry,
the insult with a compliment.
You've actually misspelt beautiful, Em, on that note.
Oh, fact.
So, it was exciting, though, and thrilling. And what I resisted doing, though my girlfriend didn't... Why do people do this? Is you meet someone, you have a nice time, and at the end you say, I had a really nice time, that was great, you know, it's brilliant, great to see you, big hugs. You get 2 minutes down the road, and you get a text saying exactly the same thing.
Why do people do that?
Why do people do that? Why is it?
Because they care for you, Frank.
No, but we already... I said all that.
It's called love.
I said all that. I don't want it in writing. I don't need... It's not a legal thing. I'm not going to say... Don't try and deny that, Hog. I've got it in writing. That's all I'm saying. Is that all I'm saying? If that's all I'm saying, this is going to be a lousy show. I don't want to start... I don't want to end this link.
Well, I don't know how to help you out of it.
The adverts are coming, and I can't face it.
There's been a text message in about your hair.
There's been a text message about my hair.
Yes.
Perhaps you can tell me that while we're listening to this.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Have we heard from the general public?
Yes, we have.
Good.
And in fact...
You know when you think, have I put the volume up? Have I been having that feeling?
Frank, we've had word in from Nathan Taylor. I say that like I know him and he's an old friend of ours. But the subject line intrigued me. It was called Things That Annoy Me.
Well, this could be a long one.
Yeah. He says, I just want to throw my hat into the ring as a follow-up to the umbrella discussion on Wednesday's Not the Weekend podcast. Frank discussed his hatred of umbrellas.
Well, it wasn't mine, actually. It was my girlfriend's.
Kathy, sorry.
My girlfriend's anti-umbrellas. I'm pro. I'm pro GAMP.
Pro umbrella.
Pro bomber shoot.
Absolutely.
These are all names for umbrellas, can I point out?
Bomber shoot.
A bomber shoot and a GAMP. Look 'em up. Google.
Nathan says, I cannot stand small children dancing. It just makes me cringe. They're always rubbish.
Is that true?
No, I'm totes with you, Nathan.
No.
Yet overexcited parents encourage it. Typical scenario is a wedding just before the night kicks off. Little Timmy, was it 1973?
Yeah.
Normally about 3 to 5 years old, wearing a waistcoat, is dancing poorly and being rewarded with excited parents clapping and taking photos.
Oh.
We should not reward poor performance, even at that age. Secondly...
Strict.
Cruel.
I actually think Nathan and I really get along. Secondly, don't take your children to a wedding. You can probably guess I'm single, angry about the wedding, and barren, without child. With that rant over, I bid you all good day.
You see, I think you have to let people take their children to a wedding so that the bride and groom's children have got someone to play with. There you have. That's a 21st century link here on Absolute Radio. Well, I know what they mean. It's that moment when children in suits are dancing to the Beatles.
Oh, it's a bit Fantasy Island. I don't like that.
I think it's brilliant, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, because they're small, they're in suits, it looks funny. The scale's out.
Oh, it's funny, I don't know. Yeah, it has a comedy to it.
The worst thing I saw, Frank, was I believe it was Will Nealia and Bruce Forsyth's child JJ in a tuxedo baby grow. I just don't tolerate that.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll have to do a list of the wrong things about that whole image. Yeah, well...
Well, a tuxedo baby grow is cool, isn't it?
You have children. Do you dress them up?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I dressed him up last weekend as a skeleton.
Okay.
Oh, that's lovely.
It's brilliant. It looks funny.
Well, for what? For an event?
For a picture, just for my phone.
You're one of these people who send those bumpers that you get after the adverts when you're watching X Factor, who people who think if you put a small child in sunglasses, it's the funniest thing in the world.
You're right. You've got me pegged. I do think. Do you know they make baby sunglasses now? Babyators, they're called.
Baby-ators.
Baby-ators.
Excellent. So you dressed your child up for a photograph
Oh
opportunity?
yeah, because I've got a skeleton costume as well.
Oh, so but it was sort of mini-me element to
Yeah,
it.
exactly. It was me and him in skeleton costumes. I thought it looked hilarious.
It was like mini-me, the inside story.
Mini me inside the X-ray machine.
Yeah, exactly. Perfect. Well, that's lovely. I mean, you have something of a curmudgeonly air to you, but thanks for sending that in.
Yeah, you've got to let kids perform. It's like when I want to watch.
No, you must never let
You
kids
must.
perform.
Says the child actress. I saw my niece at the Nativity last year, and she only had one line, and I thought it was brilliant. She messed it up. She was one of the kings, and the first king walks out, I bring gold. The second king walks out, I bring myrrh, and my niece walked out and said, "Frank sent this."
She did that deliberately. You told her to do that.
Yeah, you did.
I wish.
That's such a setup.
I think Steve was involved in rewrites. The night before.
Although why a king was dressed as a skeleton, nobody knew.
I think you can have fun with the pronunciation of myrrh, couldn't you?
Myrrh.
I bought you some myrrh. Some myrrh. Oh, I could have got 10 minutes out of that when I was a child.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Frank, I'd
Yes,
like
dear.
to talk about a burgeoning bromance. I'm going to call it a bromance between David Cameron and Barack Obama.
Oh yes,
I've been loving it.
very tactile.
Did you notice that Barack Obama was sort of adopting a slightly Brit lexicon out of respect, I felt? He said he was chuffed to bits.
Oh,
at
dear.
that was a bit Vernon Kay on Celeb Family Fortunes, I thought.
Chuffed to bits.
Chuffed to bits.
The thing is, David Cameron would never say he was chuffed a bit. He probably didn't know what he was talking about. He needs to aim a bit higher on the food chain. He should have said Toodle Pip or something like Tally Ho.
Sorry, Frank, you said a really strange text in which I have to read out.
Okay.
I don't know whether this is a webcam fan. I hope not, because it's from 381 and it says, "Not a decent face amongst you. Love, Igor."
Oh yeah.
Okay. It might be a Faces for Radio
Yeah, it might
reference.
We're a
Oh, I hope
triumvirate.
so.
We're a triumvirate of mingers. That's what we call it. It's the collective.
I couldn't believe it.
It might be a reference to, because the mods were known as Faces, weren't they?
It might be.
Remember mods, those guys on the scooters were known as Faces. He might be checking out our garb to see, look for a bit of Ben Sherman.
Yeah.
And he's gone home disappointed. I think this is the guy who runs, I think, Radio Mod Watch. For I don't know if you ever read those mod magazines.
It's quite cruel though, because Emily's face is all right, isn't it?
Oh, I was waiting for you to say that. It took ages.
Well, there's a flip side of the coin. I wore a Harrington jacket one week, and he sent in some lovely stuff. He's
Frank.
all right. He's all right.
Can we get back to Barack Obama? I thought there was quite an awkward moment when he said about Sam Cam, "Very pretty,"
Did he say that?
which I thought was a bit car keys in the bowl. I didn't like that.
Yes.
Is
Barack
it-
Obama said Sam Cam was very pretty.
Yes, yes.
Sam Cam, I should say, is Samantha Cameron, the wife of our
I know.
Prime Minister.
Sounds like some kind of camera angle you get
It
from,
does.
like, on Springwatch or something.
Yeah, the Sam Cam.
Yeah, record in the corner.
What did you two, as fashionistas in many ways, what did you both make of the wardrobes?
Well, I tell you what I didn't like.
What?
And I don't really... Well, I say I don't notice. I actually do notice women's clothes, and in a way other than men often. As years of watching fashion TV, I have been with friends buying clothes, and they'll try and address, and I'll say, the thing is the line. I don't think the line flatters
The
your
line.
figure.
I love it when you do that.
And it doesn't have that. The way
plimsoll
because it's
line.
high-waisted. Because it's high-waisted, the pleats to me are a waste of time. It's been. I have those kind of conversations.
Hazy Midland's got Quan.
It is. And Michelle Obama was wearing at one point I'm calling them voluminous, a voluminous pair of white trousers.
Oh, the palazzo pants.
Is that what they call? We would have called them Oxford bags, you know.
Okay.
Massive, wide, white trousers. A lot of material there. Really not ideal for a recession. Well, we're trying to save. We're trying to cut corners. But if you're going to wear, and I remember this from school when we wore Oxford bags, you need to wear a big chunky platform with them. You don't want to wear a delicate, tiny... And she had these little tiny pointy shoes.
Can I just say, Frank,
just coming out from
you're bang on, Frank Skinner.
Really?
It's true.
He's bang
Is he
on.
right?
He's totally
It's true.
right.
It looked like a bat in a double bed. There was just two little points coming out of this big expanse of white material. And I thought, Michelle, no. I said that, Harry Enfield style. Michelle, no! Yeah, and also she's gone for a Gabrielle fringe. Has she lost an eye recently? Was she expecting the Browns?
No, but
instead of, Cameron?
like me, Frank, she might be wanting to save on Botox. You never know.
There is that, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think just one side of her face is crinkling? It's starting. Apparently, some people, they don't come on generally, they go on left to right, like
Really?
handwriting. So the wrinkling starts on the left side of the face and works its way across. With the Chinese, it starts at the top and goes down.
Nice.
Yeah. So I was disappointed because I think of her as the more glamorous of the two. Not that I mean, they're both attractive women, but and also, and I don't want to get obsessive about this,
But you are.
Sam Cam wore a belt.
Repeatedly.
She wore a belt, and I looked for the buckle, and it was not there. And it was like she'd put the belt on, and then...
Well, she's not a pirate, Frank.
No, but even just a tiny joint, she'd spun it round, so the back of the belt was showing forward. And I thought, I've never thought of doing that.
It's a great idea.
Stick around.
Yeah. So then you look like you're walking backwards when you're going forwards. Clever.
Yeah.
Just fool people.
Well, she needs to do something with her hair.
Yeah.
Otherwise, that's giving the whole game away.
The thing that got me about Sam Cameron was that everyone's going on, oh, she's got this amazing dress on, but she's still got the touch of the common people. She's wearing high street shoes. That's that.
They often... I like the way you get a list of where the stuff came from. And she has an exposed zip. Did you notice that on the back of the skirt?
Yes,
Sam
I did
Cam?
notice.
Exposed zip on the back.
It's Victoria Beckham.
It reminded me of the kids at school. If ever their moms replaced the zip on their trousers, they never got it to work, so the material covered the zip. The zip was just there forever. It was the most up-front zip of all time. And that's how it worked. Like my mum had repaired Sam Cam's skirt, which she did not. Not a good socialist like my mum. My mum was a caring social comment. I've seen her walk 2 or 3 miles to put dog excrement through a sex offender's letterbox. She cared, my mother, and no one would take us away from that.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Oh, that snuck up on me, and now I'm eating banana.
And I'm eating a biscuit. Steve, it's over to you.
I'm a pro.
Go on, Steve, say something.
Oh, that's horrible.
Well, we've had an email, Frank. If you want to hear that. It's about, it's from Ian Stewart in Kuala Lumpur.
Ian Stewart, who occasionally played keyboards for the Rolling Stones around sort of the Exile on Main Street era.
I think so.
Okay,
I think so.
It's good he's still around.
He says, Dear Frank, I'm a bit surprised that no one has brought this up before, but the show's sign-off, If the Good Lord's Willing and the Creeks Don't Rise,
Yes.
if I'm not terribly mistaken, is derived from 18th century American diplomat Benjamin Hawkins, who when summoned to Washington...
Benny Hawkins.
Benny Hawkins.
Benny Hawkins. Benny Hawkins was Benny from Crossroads, that was his name. Benny Hawkins, yeah.
And
described, you can check this out, described on Wikipedia as the bumbling, semi-rustic handyman.
Oh, I love a euphemism.
So, yeah.
Benjamin Hawkins, yeah.
So it's from the 18th century American diplomat / bumbling domestic handyman, Benjamin Hawkins, who, when summoned to Washington, wrote in a letter, God willing and the creek don't rise. The creek referring to the Muskogee Indian tribe that were threatening to revolt and not anything to do with water levels.
Why did he call them the Creek?
That's a collective noun for a bunch of Muskogee Indian.
Is it?
I don't know.
Because there is a tribe called the Cree, is there not?
The Cree?
Yeah.
Is there?
Yeah, I think so. I think there was a...
Oh, it's all going to
There'll
be a
be-
Discovery Channel here.
Yeah, exactly. There'll be some Native American experts tell us about it. I don't know why he'd call them the Creek. There must be an... I'm happy to go with it.
Frank, could I just ask you
Who was that
something?
from, sorry?
That was from Ian Stewart, the keyboards
Oh, of
player
course it
who
was,
lives
yeah.
in
In Kuala
Kuala
Lumpur.
Lumpur.
Kuala Lumpur.
Yeah, sounds like a man who kills small furry animals for a living, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Who's John? He's a Kuala Lumpur.
It's got that... you know, my wife's just gone to the West Indies. My wife's just gone to Malaysia. Kuala Lumpur. No, she went to her own accord. Doesn't quite work. I mean,
Frank, there was a moment of tension with your manager. He's here today wearing red. It quite suits him.
Can I say, you're not the first person to have a moment of tension with my manager. But carry on.
We were talking about your interview with Mark Lawson.
Oh, yes, I was.
I
interviewed.
enjoyed
Thank
immensely.
you very much.
And
Don't worry if you missed it. It was on BBC 4. I say that by way of explanation.
but we were talking about the way you looked, and I think your manager had something to say about your appearance.
Well, my manager phoned me up and said, I watched the interview, it was excellent, but he said, I think it's your worst ever TV hair. That's what he said to me. Well, of course, now I can't face watching it. I don't like watching me at the best of time. But, you know, when you hair like mine, it doesn't take much for it to go completely out of kilter.
Really?
Like mine. I
Yeah.
love the sentence.
It's quite simple, isn't it, your hair?
It looks simple, but, you know, perhaps I study it more than most. But there are days when I think, you know, it looks all right today. And then there are days when I think, bald.
Did they use product, Frank?
I don't remember them touching it, actually. They were mainly working on powdering down Mark Lawson.
Is he shiny?
Well, he's a bit... oh, yeah. He was... it was like... You know when... you know Jupiter has been particularly visible? Yeah. Or was it Venus? I think Venus has been the most visible. He has a fabulous ethereal glow about him.
Oh, nice.
Lovely chap, don't get me wrong.
Meanwhile,
Don't get me wrong!
over in Washington,
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I'm not done yet on those
Okay.
wardrobes. So you think Sam Cam came out on top, do you?
Yeah, I think she dressed the best on this particular
Yes.
thing.
You're
yeah.
right.
Thanks.
It's not an opinion, you're right.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what did you think of the gifts, Frank?
Well,
Oh, they were brilliant, weren't they?
I don't think anyone can top the try too hard gift that Gordon Brown. Did you know what Gordon Brown gave Barack Obama when they last
No.
met? I mean, honestly, if you wanted to look up what a try too hard gift was, he got him I read this in the paper, but he got him a pen holder made out of wood from an anti-slavery ship.
Oh.
I mean, God, for goodness. Oh, what is an anti-slavery ship? How does that work? It's strong trade union presence. Yeah, but just just relax about it, Gordon, for goodness sake. Don't bring up slavery when it's supposed to be, play table tennis.
Did you like the table tennis?
No. I don't like to see politicians relaxing in any way.
No.
I don't like to see their
then
jackets come off.
I don't like a T-shirt over the shirt as well, like they're working at Jumble Sale.
Do you know what they bought Gordon Brown?
What?
They bought him some DVDs when he went over.
Oh my God, that's so cheap. That's so
They
cheap.
weren't even particularly relevant. They didn't get him Braveheart or anything.
Box set of The Wire or something.
What are they getting? The Bulletproof Monk?
One of those ones that someone had sent to the Obamas as a bit of a promotional thing. And he said, I'll give that to Gordon Brown. It's rubbish.
Like passing off.
And this is absolutely true. They weren't even in, UK format.
They weren't Region 2.
Oh.
And so Gordon wouldn't have even been able to... I mean, it's such a airport gift, isn't it? He might as well
It really is.
got him a big Toblerone.
A tie.
Oh, poor Gordon. We miss him.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Steve Williams.
Hello.
Frank, stop all the clocks. Sean Williams has left BBC Breakfast this week.
We've already...
I know. It's
do you know
terribly
what?
sad news.
Well, I watched that, actually. I watched the last show.
Did you?
And I thought, I've met Sean Williams. I've done BBC Breakfast. And I thought, she's all right. I'm not bothered about it.
It is a big story.
But I thought I'm going to hang around for the end. I quite would like to see the last moment because I want to see how she goes out. And I don't care. I mean, she's
That was like you watched the last days of GMTV. You enjoyed that.
No, but that was
the
different.
anarchy.
GMT. That was like ancient Rome for them. They were getting away with. They're doing anything on there. They just thought we're going out, with a bang. Who cares? But Sean obviously was a professional to the very end.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but there was. Did you see that strange ritual they showed?
Oh yes, this is what she does before. Is it before every show? Or?
Yeah, her and Hugh shake out their hands for.
Hugh Edwards?
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I referred to him in a showbiz familiar
exactly.
way.
Steve, I'm presuming Steve knows Hugh Edwards.
Of course I do, Frank.
You all know each other, don't you? You lot.
Of course we do. There's 5 of us.
Yeah. Charlotte Church, you.
Sean Williams and Sean Lloyd, the weather girl. And we sit around a table.
Oh, she's Welsh as well. Is it a Welsh thing then? They hold their arms out in front of them.
Yeah.
as if they, like when people used to imitate sleepwalking in the old days. I don't know if anyone's ever sleepwalked like that, in truth.
It's like Top Cat sleepwalking.
Yeah. But I let the Top Cats become a recurring theme today. In a minute, I shall take a coin on a small piece of string. There are teenagers listening to this going, this Top Cat thing, is it a drug of some kind? It's the new word for meow meow. So they hold their arms out straight in front of them, and then they just do like a floppy wrist and shake their hands. And I'll try that. Does it relax you? I'll try it. It actually hurt me. that's aging. That's aging, isn't it? Really hurt my wrists.
It was quite strange. It was a bit regional.
I had to get a couple of
workshop.
I needed some copper bracelets. Or maybe a wasp box. Have you ever seen those wasp boxes that they use?
A wasp
Not easy to say a wasp box. See, I have to put like a slight pause. Wasp box. I can't say wasp box because I lose the P. Anyway,
What is a wasp
people
box?
with arthritis, I think, used to use it. And if you got arthritic wrists, used to have these little. They're like a sort of a big bracelet, but with wasps in, like a cage, a wasp cage bracelet, and you put them on, and they sting you really badly. And it's supposed
They're
to
alive?
Oh yeah, they're alive.
What kind of a bracelet is that?
Yeah, you only wear it temporarily.
Oh, right. I mean, I've seen people with the toilet seats with fish in there, in the top, but, you know.
Yeah, I don't know if they actually do anything.
Does nothing to
do they eat
arthritis.
do they eat the dry skin off your thighs?
Yeah.
But yeah, so they sting, and the wasp thing is supposed to be good for the arthritis. Yeah, that's it. Try. I'm not. Can I say Absolute Radio? We don't push this as a cure. This is a personal reminiscence.
That's quite a strange ritual, though, I thought. I mean, I do a few things pre-show. I don't know if you've noticed, Steve. Frank, you may be more familiar. I have to have my spot on the sofa when we're having breakfast.
There's that handstand.
Starting in Oxfordshire on the M40, there are problems around...
Sorry, some of you will know I run a minicab company on the side here. When I put the wrong headphones on, it's a bit of a disaster. Funny thing, that happened, I think, last week, and Daisy, the producer, said, I'll never do that again. Guess what? So, what are we talking about?
Rituals.
Oh, yeah.
So another thing I do, I always like to turn the aircon to 21 for Frank. He loves it on 21.
Yes,
Oh, that makes him sound a bit diva-ish, doesn't it?
It does, yeah. Holly Walsh pointed out, I don't say, can you turn the heating up or down?
Yeah.
I go, I'm cold. Like some terrible medieval king.
Just look at Emily. 21!
I wish Emily wouldn't do that handstand, though, before the handstand. It's all right when she's got jeans on, but sometimes, honestly, I don't know where to look.
I'm just loving the idea of people looking at me and shouting 21. That's made my day. Thank you, Steve.
So I'll tell you what I do, and I did it this morning. If I'm going to do a show of some kind, I have a mog at home.
Mog.
That's M-U-G.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Oh, yeah.
Mog.
I thought you were saying cat. Mog.
Mog. I have a cat at home, a straw boat, a waistcoat. No, I have a mug without a handle.
Which makes
and
sense.
it never had a handle. I bought it in Japan at a baseball game.
Oh.
And it just comes without a handle. And you think, a mug without a handle, you wouldn't be able to drink the hot fluids. It doesn't make any difference at all. I've discovered from this mug that mugs don't really need handles. It's a waste.
Oh.
All that china that's used to make all those unnecessary handles could put another 5,000 public toilets in this country. That's all I'm saying.
Surely a mug without a handle is a chalice.
Maybe in your house. But if I'm doing a show, I tend to drink out of that mug first thing in the morning.
Oh, really?
As a sort of my pre-show ritual. Anyone listening to the show might think, get a new mug. But you know what I mean, if you don't like it. So,
Frank, I also make comments on the Weather Girls wardrobe. We always do that as well.
I wasn't going to bring that up, you're so cutting. If any of our listeners have any sort of rituals that they do, you know, these weird superstitious things, do let us know, because I'm interested. I think that's the bottom line. I don't mean the bottom line with Mary Portas.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Yeah, rituals. So, I always used to, before I went on stage, I was in my dressing room, I always played either Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire or George Formby's, if women like them like men like those, why don't women like me?
Blimey, that is two ends of the rainbow, isn't it?
But they both do something to my serotonin levels. They make me feel so excited, both of those songs.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, really excited. I can't explain
You
it.
can't imagine anyone getting fired up to George Formby.
Well, it's been firing people up. Well,
you'd be
what
surprised.
about World War II? We'd have lost without George Formby.
Dear.
He was what Roy Keane used to be to the Republic of Ireland team. I'm choking, help me, I'm choking! Sorry, that was a terrible frog in the throat moment. Do you have any rituals, Steve? Comedians sometimes do, don't they?
Yeah, I mean, I personally, I don't really have rituals, but I just make sure my flies are done up.
That's
Last thing
always-
you need is
yeah,
a
that's-
wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, I don't know, I'm glad of any comedy I can get. Sometimes I deliberately undo them before I go on.
Leave the flies open.
Yeah, exactly.
On the off chance.
You know, if the other act comes in and says, a bit tough tonight, I think it sounds like a flies open audience. Just to get them warmed up.
I think rituals are more of a sort of sportsman thing, aren't they? Which I find bizarre. Like Paul Ince. Remember Paul Ince, footballer who played for Man United and West Ham?
The
Was he
governor.
the governor? Yeah.
Well done, Emily. And
Oh, because that wasn't patronising.
I was just impressed. I mean,
No,
I've
Frank
been
asked me
impressed.
last week, now, do you know what the technical area is? And I was
That's
able to respond.
That's a reasonable question.
Wow.
It's like
Yes.
saying to me, do you know what a kitten heel is?
Yeah, and you do. I was
Yeah,
impressed.
I'd be insulted as well if you asked me that. Can I say that Michelle Obama's unsuitable shoes were kitten heels, in case anyone was wondering?
So, yes.
So Paul Ince, his superstition was he used to walk down the tunnel and he wouldn't put his shirt on. He'd always be the last one. He wouldn't put his shirt on until he left the tunnel, which imagine, fine on a sports pitch, but a nightmare on the motorway. You know what I mean? It's
Exactly.
I just,
Isn't that because he had a brilliant... If I had I always think about this about footballers. I'd have my shirt off every 2 minutes if I got a good
If you had a
body.
body like
I'd be
that.
a nightmare. I would. If I'd got a good... There was a short period in my life, I had quite tight stomach muscles.
Really?
I did the sit-ups and everything. I know it's shocking, Steve, but I did. They looked quite defined and good. And there was about 9 pictures of me in the papers at premieres and that lifting my shirt up.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't keep them in.
Yeah.
And I've always thought that if I was a hard man, I would beat 3 or 4 people up a day. If I could.
What fantasy is that?
The only thing that stops me from beating people up is my inability to beat people up. If I could do it, I don't think I'd be able to resist it. You know, you hear about these horrible thugs. You think, well, God, it's the temptation.
But would you use that power for good? Would you beat up villains or...
I like to think I'd beat up people, people who I saw shouting at old age pensioners and stuff like that. But if it was a quiet day, I'd have to beat up some nice people.
just to fill your quota?
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry,
once
I'm on
you've
a
got
quota system.
once you've got a taste for it, you can't be limited by circumstance. Do you never feel that? You're quite a
That
big
you want to
lad.
beat someone up.
No, I feel that when I condemn violent people, I always think, but I'm a scrawny bloke. If I was a big, strong, muscular bloke,
Can I
wouldn't
suggest
be
something,
a bit
Frank?
tempted?
If you feel like you want to beat people up, don't play George Formby before you go out.
Why?
You're too fired up, man.
You're right. I blame George. It worked in World War II. It's basically inappropriate in peacetime.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
I've had a major blow this
What's
week.
happened?
Well, as you know, a close personal friend of mine, the ABFC,
No, that's the Archbishop of Canterbury, Steve.
Oh, right, okay.
Just
okay.
FYI.
who lives is my neighbour, basically.
Oh, is he?
Yeah,
It's like a sort of ITV sitcom in the 70s.
It is, yeah. What would it be called? The Bishop Next Door or something
Yeah.
like that. And actually, what would it be called? What about that for a
Sure.
texting?
I love that you paused because you were trying...
Exactly.
No, a sitcom about...
Yes.
Yeah, about me living... A comedian lives next door to the Archbishop of Canterbury. What would the sitcom be called?
Love thy neighbour.
Yeah, that's good.
Biblical.
I think that's
passage.
gone, though.
Good
Yeah,
stuff.
absolutely.
I think that's been taken already.
Yes, taken and defaced. But anyway, yeah. So I met him. What I did, Steve, is on this show I announced that if I could have 2 celebrity friends, a male and a female of my own choice, I'd go for the Archbishop of Canterbury and Tracy Emin.
Really?
Yeah,
Extraordinary.
that was my choice. And I met Tracy Emin, and I said I thought I'd come over and say hello. I was a bit nervous about saying hello, and she said, "Oh, but you decided to risk it for a biscuit." And I thought, you're not going to be my friend. But the Archbishop I met, and he's a very nice chap. So I thought, I'm sort of in now. I'm in with the Archbishop of Canterbury, and for a Catholic, that's quite an achievement.
They're actually
Yeah.
friends.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say that.
It's a bit Cagney and Lacey.
There is. There's an element. I mean, I'm a sort of a half friend. I suppose when I heard he was going to step down and quit being the Archbishop of Canterbury, I felt like Uri Geller felt when Michael Jackson died. I thought that was my little contact, my little bit of contact with the higher echelons. And it's gone now, and...
So he's leaving to concentrate on other projects, like when people leave EastEnders.
Yeah, exactly. I think he's got
Solo
got
album.
interviews in LA for a Bishop Rick out there. No, I don't know what he's going to be.
He's going to Magdalen
He's going to be
College.
an academic.
So he'll be moving out. They're going to be the removal vans, but
That'll be terrible when the Pickfords turn up. And what if I start seeing some massive ornate gold candlesticks going into the delivery van? I mean, do I speak up or do I just say nothing?
Frank 021. How about bless this gag for your sitcom? That's from Claire.
Bless this gag. No.
No.
But thanks, Claire. Thanks for joining in.
Yeah.
We'll find one.
Well, we will.
If we get a really good one, I'm going to write the sitcom based on the theory on this show that titles come before shows.
What about Cardinal Sin?
You know, there is a cardinal
That sounds
sin.
a bit sleazy, though, Steve.
There is actually an African Roman Catholic cardinal called Cardinal Sin.
No way.
That's absolutely true. I say there is. He might have passed away. But yeah, Cardinal Sin. I don't think it's spelt S-I-N, though. I think it's short for Cynthia.
But so, Frank, who's
some
going to
funny
replace
idea.
him is the big question everyone's
Well,
asking on
well.
commercial radio this morning.
Yeah.
Who is going to replace...
So who are the front runners?
ABS
Who are the front
Well,
runners?
over to our religious correspondent.
Well, I'll tell you who the news of... do you know that that sort of attractive female vicar with the big face?
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
She's been on all over. She says it looks like Betty Boop and a sort of a religious conversion.
Oh, is she doing PR, do you think? to
She's
try and get
doing.
the job?
She's been asked. She's doing all the news shows as the glamorous vicar.
And is she a possible front runner?
No, she's
No, Bishop of York all the way.
all the male interviewers have asked her that in a slightly flirty way at the end,
Have they?
and she flutters her eyelashes and goes boop boop beep, which I don't think is appropriate for a clergywoman. Clergyperson.
It's Bishop of York v... That's the Subo, isn't it? Versus Bishop of London is the diversity, really.
Yeah, Bishop of York is the favourite. John Sentamu. A mate said to me last night, one man sent a moo. I thought, what am I talking about? He's the one with a... have you seen him?
Yes, I have, yeah.
He has got the biggest gap between his front two teeth I have ever seen. Now, I've seen women... women often have that, sexy women, and men occasionally, but he has got...
Oh, the sort of
biggest-
wife of Bath thing.
No,
yes.
but it is... You could get another tooth in there. Honestly, it's like a badly drawn curtain, his mouth. And I think that you don't want someone, Archbishop of Canterbury, who's supposed to unify a troubled church, whose mouth symbolises division. So, for me, that writes him... Also, he writes a column for The Sun on Sunday. Forget about it.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
We've had a
Had a deluge.
deluge of texts.
A sitcom that would be about you living next door to the Archbishop of Canterbury.
Yes, what would that sitcom be called, was the question.
031. Frank, how about Mass Hysteria for the name of your show? Stephen Kent.
Excellent.
Yes.
I don't
Yeah.
think they call it Mass, do they, the CV?
Oh, dear.
Oh, good point. But 937 says, what about Steptoe and Sermon?
Sermon.
Yeah.
Steptoe
So I was trying to make it sound like son, but it didn't work. Steptoe and Sermon.
Steptoe and Sermon.
Yeah.
Yes. Well done. Steve killed it. I can only apologise.
I apologise.
It wasn't your fault.
It was my fault.
No, I was talking to the listener.
Oh.
It was your fault.
It was. I agree with that.
Any more? We can do
Yeah,
a couple
Dan
of-
and Dudley, Saint and Skinner.
Saint and Skin. That's excellent.
That's good, isn't it?
What about 372, Never Mind the Cassocks?
Also very good. Brilliant. See, this is where our readers soar like mighty comedy eagles.
Frank
Skinner.
on Absolute Radio.
Absolute Radio.
Frank, amidst all the Archbishop of Canterbury texts we've had in, we've also had one in from, well, it seems to be from Tracy Emin.
What?
I obviously won't read out her number.
Tracy Emin doesn't listen to this show,
Well,
surely.
I hope so, because I'm actually a fan. I'm saying that now. I think she's listening. Frank, when was this? When was I supposed to have said risk it for a biscuit? It's something I might say, but not too seriously. Tracy.
Oh, God, it could actually be Tracy Emin.
I think it is.
I think it is as
Well,
well.
I'll tell you what, it was-
Mortificado for you.
It was in the Ivy Club. Not the Ivy restaurant, but the Ivy Club. And I went over to tell her that I'd saw a piece of art of hers in New York, and it was her crying in a shower. And I wanted to tell her it was brilliant. And I said I was a bit nervous about coming over, because you're Tracy Emin. A similar thing happened to me with Richard Osman a couple of weeks ago.
I remember it well.
And she said, and you risked it for a biscuit. And then I completely lost my nerve and went away. But that's brilliant. If it is Tracy Emin, it's brilliant. And if it's a hoax, that's also clever.
Yeah, I respect that hoaxer.
Yeah, because a lot of hoaxers would have put a bit of a joke in. But,
That's an early start for a YBA, though, isn't it?
a YBA?
Young British Artist. Come on, get with it.
I imagine she's still up from last night.
We've also had some texts in, haven't we, Steve?
We certainly have.
Your
But-
sitcom.
With the sitcom, we've had one in from 990. Frank, idea for the sitcom title, Might I Borrow Some Sugar?
Might. Oh,
cute.
excellent.
Frank, 937's on fire. Last of the Communion Wine.
Do they do that? Do they do that at the Church of England?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Do they? Okay.
People will let you off. It's a format.
No, it's format, but I want it to be theologically sound.
We had another one from 937, didn't we, Steve? It was, Are You Being Purged?
I really like that, but I don't know if it quite works, does it? If I had our Keith living with me, it could be Browan Williams. That's what it could be
Oh,
called.
nice.
Frank.
Okay, I'm still slightly thrown by the fact that Tracy Emin might listen to this.
I want
If
Tracy-
it's a hoax, though, do tell us, because I'd
We'd like to know.
I'd congratulate the hoaxee. Would it be the hoaxee? No, I'd be the hoaxee, wouldn't it? It'd be the
Yeah.
hoaxer.
Yeah.
Hoaxer.
Bit of here's something for you. A bit of African music. Oh, Kimbalo, Kimbalo, oh, Kimbalo, 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 oh, Kimbalo, Kimbalo, oh, Kimbalo, 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 oh, Kimbalo, Kimbalo. Now, I once did that. I was doing a show in my early days, and I got a group of African people dressed in all the traditional tribal
I'm getting
outfits.
nervous, Frank.
Yeah, and they came on stage. They came on stage, and they sang, oh, Kimbalo, Kimbalo, oh, Kimbalo, Kimbalo, Kimbalo. And very slowly, an enormous picture of Ken Barlow was lowered from the top of the stage. And I always thought of it as one of my greatest jokes ever.
That was very
It
funny.
worked fabulously on the night. And then this was probably 20 years ago, the show. Very recently, I actually watched it for the first time as it went out. And they'd cut it. So it sort of went, oh, Ken Barlow, and the picture of Ken Barlow come down, and they completely murdered it. My joke was on the ground in a pool of blood,
Writhing.
urine, vomit, aqueous and vitreous humour. And I was very upset about it. But I thought about it this week when I saw in the paper that
Yes.
Ken Barlow, we have to watch how we phrase this on breakfast
Yes.
television, he's had relationships, he claims, with...
Frank, it's not breakfast television. I'm sorry to tell you.
No, I know. So did I say television? Oh, God, I had a flashback to the 90s when I was big. Breakfast radio. I'm terribly sorry, everyone. And I feel a fool now in this makeup. And Ken Barlow...
I know how I feel.
Ken Barlow says that he's had relationships with 1,000 women.
Yeah.
What?
Over 1,000.
Did he say over?
Yes.
That's the one I read. He said 1,000 women.
Exactly.
Exactly. It's like those people. You know those people when they put petrol in, those little clicks so they get it exactly on the pound. So he carried on. I mean, towards the end when he'd lost all interest in the physical acts, just to get it up to that round figure. but maybe no.
Frank, one was Elsie Tanner.
Can we make one thing clear here? What he says one was Elsie Tanner.
Was one Ina Sharples?
Elsie Tanner was a character, Pat Phoenix, who was in Coronation Street, no longer with us.
Oh.
Right, and I thought, well, that's a bit of a coincidence, isn't it, Ken?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey? I mean, I could say, oh yeah, I've had relationships with over 1,000 women.
Marx.
Yeah, Karl Marx, Gretchen Franklin. That was her idea of pillow talk. But when I read celebrities who've done these things with thousands of women, you always think, oh well, that's celebrity. That's that's how it is. That's the opportunities are there. With him, I thought, no, you didn't.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it?
No way in the world did that.
Do you think he's lying,
happen.
Frank?
I think 4 tops. I don't mean 4 tops as in I'll be there. I think no, I don't. It didn't happen.
You don't believe his figures?
Well, one of them was that redhead from Rosamond Street. Now, to me, that's going into fiction, isn't it? Rosamond Street was that place where they refer to on Coronation, so they always say, oh yeah, it's that woman from Rosamond Street, and you never see it.
Oh, that was like Melbourne, it was Brisbane or something in Neighbours.
I love that you never see it, though. It's the cheapest set in the history of television, Rosamond Street. It just exists in the mind.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute Radio.
Frank, we've had more texts in. The title of your sitcom with the Archbishop of Canterbury. 856, how about One Man and His God? That's Nigel and Chingford.
Yeah, I like
How
that.
about 735, listen to this, living next door to Chalice.
That's very good indeed.
Yeah, Alan in Bristol.
And
Glass.
Simon in Wokingham,
There's a
very
hint of
simple.
bit of smoky, bit of rye chubby brown, all mixed in together.
Frank God. I like the
Frank God,
simplicity.
that's it. I think that's the cast list. Excellent. Oh, I wish we'd have done this earlier now, because I didn't get any texts earlier. And I was thinking, oh, maybe this is it. We're on the slide. That's turned out all right. Can I say that I'm doing thingy tonight? Let's Dance for Comic Relief. Judging.
Oh, are you?
Yeah. My plan is to be funny-ish rather than funny. So let's see if I achieve that tonight. And on Friday, I'm doing my swim for Sport Relief.
Are you? What are you doing?
I have to swim a length.
One length?
I can't... Yeah, I know, that's what everyone says. But I can't swim and I'm frightened of water, basically.
Oh, well, yeah, then a length would be a...
I still haven't done it, so it's slightly terrifying. It's going to be very, very touch and go.
But funny to watch.
Funny if you like watching a 55-year-old man in a panic fit, it'll be hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
And I've had a few of those, I tell you. Oh dear, it's been terrifying. But I'm gonna have a go on Friday, and so
I might cheer you on, Frank, with a little Union Jack flag.
yeah, if you want to sponsor me, money doesn't go to me; it goes to poor people. Let's face it, they need a bit of help. So there's that. What else?
Well, I'll tell you what else. We've had an email in, Frank.
Oh yes.
You've got a looky-likey, but don't get too excited. It's, he says, I spotted Frank's successful bald twin brother on a magazine cover this week.
Okay.
It was Director magazine, which is a trade publication.
Oh, I didn't see
it. It turns out
catch it this week.
it's, you look like the CEO of Saatchi & Saatchi. So there you go, Frank.
Saatchi & Saatchi, was that cat and mouse double act on The Simpsons? No, I did have a look at this, actually, and I looked him up. Yeah, I was interesting because he does look like a bald me.
But how can he be lookalike if he's a bald you?
Well, it's like mini-me. That's like saying, how can he be lookalike if he's short?
No, but they're both bald, Mini-Me and the character.
Yeah, but they're not both the same height.
Yeah, but
You're allowed one shortfall in the lookalike.
But one of the aspects of
And
you
then
is
you
your
justify that shortfall with the first word. So then you say, he looks like a Chinese Brian Clough, or he looks like a bald Frank Skinner.
Yeah, okay.
That's
fair
how it
enough.
works.
Yeah.
I'm glad
Anyway.
we've workshopped that.
Yeah. The interesting thing was he was wearing a suit with a T-shirt on the picture, and this is something I've been toying with for a while. Could I get away with wearing a suit jacket and a T-shirt without looking like I'm in Squeeze?
No. Squeeze.
And that's my... I'm going to try it one of these days, but, because I've got loads of suits. Every time you do a TV show, you get a free suit. I don't know if you know that, home. So I've got loads of suits, loads of T-shirts.
It's a bit party organiser. I don't want you doing that.
I'm going to try it. I might go absolutely standing with Status Quo. You know the blokes that play for Status Quo that aren't in Status Quo that wear really white trainers?
Yeah.
And jeans and a white T-shirt and a suit jacket. I think I could get away with that. Anyway, look, Not the Weekend. I'm doing one of those terms and conditions apply. Not the Weekend podcast is available to download from Wednesday. That's us talking. That's a fair summary. Next is Mark Crossley. And, if the good Lord spares us and the creeks don't rise, we'll be back this time next week. Oh, and also if I don't drown on Friday. But bye. I messed up the last word.
This is
Frank Skinner, Absolute